What's good, YouTube? This video is going to be about the #1 narcissistic red flag. A relationship is in essence just a friendship with sex, romance, and compromise. So we're going to keep that in mind throughout this video. You cannot have a friendship without compromise. And men who don't compromise with their partners are only concerned with their happiness, not their partners, not the relationship health. Does that sound like a friend at all? Or does that sound like a boss, a tyrant, or a dictator? We're going to get into that today. But before I start, if you haven't heard already, now is open enrollment for my 3-month one-on-one coaching program. It's in-depth, it's hands-on, and it's built to improve your life. It's not as cheap as my other services, but it's more impactful and packs a lot of value in for the price. It's not built for everyone though. I already have cheaper services that are built for everyone. This is for people who need more and are willing to invest in themselves. So if that sounds like you, then click the link below. If it doesn't, then disregard you ever heard this message. Now onto this topic. The most clear sign of a toxic and narcissistic man is a man that doesn't believe in hearing his woman's voice or receiving her counsel. A man who won't compromise and whose ears are mute to his woman is almost always a weak-ass, pathetic narcissist. Real misogyny, not that loose-ass definition that people are trying to use to define everything with balls, but real misogyny. Actual men who inherently hate and distrust women isn't always as obvious as overt disrespect. Not at first. It often flashes as a refusal to consider a woman's thoughts or her mind. Men who usher in the superior-subordinate dynamic with charming but stern rigidity. Men who insist on leading, even when they are ill-equipped to lead. Men who confuse control for leadership. Because narcissism doesn't just affect relationships, you can usually observe a person's other relationship dynamics to see if they have narcissistic traits. A closeted narcissist often picks just a few people to rule over because they want to be seen as good. But a full-blown narcissist may be easier to spot because they may try to control everything and everyone around them. We have to remember that this is a spectrum. A good man knows when to follow and when to lead. He's not obsessed with power, he's obsessed with progress. A relationship is like a team sport. To win the game, you need 2 capable players. Good men are natural leaders, but good men and good leaders know when to let their partners shine, when to step back into the shadows, or when to concede their point of view. Because it's not always about them, it's about the team. So ladies, if you're with a man who never listens or never hears your voice and doesn't value it, he's not a leader. He's not being masculine. He's not just being a man. That's a wounded masculine trait. That's weakness you're seeing in him, not strength, because he's uncompromising. I was scrolling through Instagram today and came across a quote by John C. Maxwell, an author of a leadership book, one which I've read, by the way. He once said that true leadership must be done for the benefit of the followers, not the enrichment of the leader. With that, a boss isn't always a leader, and a controlling spouse or a man is definitely not a leader. What many people fail to realize is compromise is respect and acknowledgement of value. Both sides should be willing to do it, eager to do it. What you think about your partner's happiness and their voice, their opinions, their thoughts, their beliefs, their feelings, is in direct correlation with how much you value them. If a man only values his, then he's likely a narcissist. I've talked to a lot of people about this, and I've never met a man in a relationship who subscribed to the idea that a man doesn't have to answer to his woman, who also wasn't a narcissist. Because the responsibility that a man has to answer to his woman is in direct correlation with how much he values her, how much he respects her. Both people answer to each other. Those men often subscribe to such a weak belief system because it excuses their conduct and their obsession with control. Just like hateful people often lean on religion as an excuse for being hateful, or people who blame their self-control issues on their zodiac signs. We all normally find some belief system somewhere that validates our bullshit. And weak narcissistic men are no different. We've all heard the saying that a man should be the head of the household somewhere before, which isn't inherently wrong in my opinion, but I'm classic. People call me a chauvinist or misogynist. They call me a lot of things, but I think a great man is the head of his household. But if that be the case, then that will make a woman the neck and body. And what good is a head with no body? A one-sided relationship where a partner, a man, doesn't hear his woman's voice, doesn't care about her thoughts, her beliefs, her opinions, her feelings, her processing, her input, is a dangerous place to be in. These men are often the head of very broken homes, very dysfunctional houses. They use their might to rule over their women, instead of using their might to brave the rough terrain of life for the betterment of their women and their relationships. If a man doesn't value your voice or opinions, you will never be fully and completely loved by him. He's not capable. More often than not, men like this treat their women like property or servants or employees. Women often decide they have to have a guy because of how much they like him, and they don't often realize that they're dealing with a tyrant until the dust settles. That's because a narcissist will first charm you into doing things his way when the relationship is new. When you're the new shiny thing in a narcissistic man's life, he pours a lot of charisma into the control that he has over you so that you think you're just being won over with charm and you're not being controlled, even though that's the case. I can't say this enough, ladies. Observe a man's relationship dynamics before you decide that he is the one. His family, his friends, his co-workers, the people he encounters when he's with you. Figure out what his default programming is. If it's self-serving, if it's self-obsessed, if it considers others. When you meet a guy and it's going well and you're just a little bit afraid that he might be a little bit controlling, ask yourself these questions. How does he treat people? How do they treat him? How does he speak of the people that he falls out with? What is his relationship with the idea of leadership? How does he see it? Does he weaponize his charm against you to control your choices? Is that a pattern? What are the limits of his rigidity? How far will he go to get what he wants? Does he believe a man should answer to his woman? Does he believe he has a responsibility to? Does he think that the mind of a woman can equal the might of a man? What purpose does he believe a woman serves in his life? Sometimes the easiest way to expose a narcissist in the beginning of your relationship is just to disagree with them and then hold your position. Refuse a few things and see what reaction you get. Now I may be getting too deep here, but what the hell? Some of y'all women are asleep and need to wake up. Too many of you, honestly, have pulled your panties down long before you've realized that you've attached yourself to an incubus. Now, for those of you who don't know what that is, according to Wikipedia, an incubus is a demon in male form, who, according to legend, lies upon sleeping women in order to engage in sexual activity with them. Its female counterpart is a succubus. Salacious tales of incubi and succubi have been told for many centuries. Some traditions even hold that repeated activity with the incubus or the succubus may result in the deterioration of health, mind state, or even death. Quite honestly, I think it's more than a myth. I think this is a metaphor. I've watched hundreds of people deteriorate before my eyes because of their attachment to a toxic relationship or a toxic narcissistic person. Whether or not you understand my metaphor or the connection between an incubus or a succubus coming into your life, the connection to a self-serving, self-obsessed, narcissistic person, especially sexually, will begin to turn down the volume of your inner voice pretty soon in the relationship, because for a narcissist, it's too dangerous to empower the victim early on. So if you see this sign, if you see a man who's uncompromising, who doesn't hear your voice and doesn't respect what you have to say, please get the hell up out of there before it's too late. That's usually one of the ways it starts. And at first it's just inconvenient for a guy not to listen. But once they get you in that relationship and they've isolated you from the people who love you, you become a servant and you become a victim. So value compromise sometimes over the charm that one might have to get you to see things his way. It could save your life. So that's all I got for now. Follow me at KidFick24 on Instagram. Again, open enrollment for my 3-month one-on-one coaching program is going on right now. So if you're willing to invest in yourself and you want help, you can get it. Follow me at KidFick24 on Instagram. I'll get with y'all later.